Hey, welcome to Ultimate Survival Tips. I'm David. Well, pretty jazzed to get this full review and demonstration video of the new Gerber Bear Grylls Ultimate Pro Survival Knife out to you after a few weeks of research, use, and testing. So today we'll dig in deep, take a look at the Ultimate Pro Survival Knife from just about every angle, see if this knife is garbage, good, or anywhere close to great. As usual, I've got a few surprises for you. So I take this knife up on the mountain and literally beat the tar out of it. And I use it to do some bushcraft, cut down a tree, break things, and cut, slice, and chop stuff. Before we're all done, we'll talk about who this knife is for, who should consider a different knife as I compare it to the original Bear Grylls Ultimate Survival Knife, and a few other great blades. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so let's get started. So with the Bear Grylls Ultimate Pro Knife, Gerber and Bear Grylls have made a pretty valiant attempt to raise the bar and upgrade their original Ultimate Survival Knife while keeping its street price reasonable enough to appeal to the masses. So the Bear Grylls Ultimate Pro is a fine-edged survival knife with a fixed 4.8 inch or 12.2 centimeter blade that is very similar in shape and size when compared to the original Bear Grylls Ultimate Survival Knife. Like its older brother, the Ultimate Pro is more of a survival package than just a knife, and includes a newly designed sheath, an easier to use integrated field sharpener, a fire starter rod, an integrated lanyard whistle, and the Bear Grylls Priorities of Survival Pocket Guide. Okay, since the knife is only as good as its blade, let's camp out here for a while. The Bear Grylls Ultimate Pro Knife is made out of 9CR19 Bowie high carbon stainless steel, which is a nice upgrade from the original knife that was made out of 7CR17 Bowie steel. Compared to the steel that's used in the original Ultimate Survival Knife, Pro Knife should be a bit tougher, hold an edge better. Now the big huge difference between these knives is the full tang construction of the Ultimate Pro versus the 3/4 tang design of the original Ultimate Survival Knife. Full tang basically means that the blade steel runs full length of the knife from tip to butt. Full tang construction is regarded by most experts as the strongest, most durable way to make a knife. So to see how tough the Ultimate Pro's steel, tang, and pommel actually are, I woke up one morning with a crazy knife test in my brain. So here I am pounding the knife into a hardwood log with a sledgehammer to see what happens. As you can see, I'm whacking pretty hard on this knife to drive it into the log. I'll be honest with you, I thought this knife would take maybe 30 or 40 hits before something bad happened. And I never expected that I would end up whacking it 72 times at different angles before I couldn't drive it into the log any further. So I think it's safe to say that this is a pretty tough tang and pommel upgrade. Now let's talk more about the blade. Ultimate Pro has a drop point blade, which simply means that the spine side of the blade curves down until it meets the tip of the blade. Drop point blades are common for survival and general purpose utility knives because they make for a strong tip and a tough knife across the entire surface of the blade. At the spine, the Ultimate Pro is about the same thickness as the original version, around 0.2 inches or 5 millimeters. Both blades are covered with a pretty rugged PVD coating, except instead of being gray, Ultimate Pro coating is black, which actually looks pretty cool. Ultimate Pro is only available with a 100% fine edge blade, meaning no serrations. The original Bear Grylls Ultimate Survival Knife comes in both a half serrated and a 100% fine edge version. Now my knife came quite sharp enough out of the box to shave the hair off the back of my arm. In our testing, I was surprised at how well this edge held up while performing a boatload of tasks, and after some knife throwing and a bunch of drops and rocks and frozen soil and stuff like that. Through it all, my knife continued to slice, skin, and cut things well. Now here I am batoning with this knife. As long as the logs were not too thick, splitting was a breeze. And this knife performed equally well chopping sticks. It was a joy to use at some fine tasks like feathering some twigs. Now on the spine side, we have this notched out, coating-free fire steel striker area, just like the original survival knife. And on the edge side of the blade, we have this choil. A choil is a cutout area between the edge and the handguard of this knife. Now this choil has enough space for my forefinger to wrap around the steel for better leverage and control in fine cutting and slicing. But if you do this, just be careful. However, a choil's true purpose is to allow the blade to be sharpened all the way to the end of the edge without interference of the handle or handguard. Now as we move down the handle, we see the tang is cut to match the shape of the handle slabs perfectly, and then it terminates with this pommel. The Ultimate Pro knife comes with a newly designed emergency whistle. It seems more durable than the previous one. It's quite a bit louder, and the whistle comes attached to the knife by its lanyard through this hole in the pommel, although it can be easily removed. Now this hefty cast pommel is not only welded to the tang, but it's also pinned for extra strength. So to further test the pommel, I decided to go break some pretty hard Pennsylvania fieldstone. So here I am busting up some stone. The knife was pretty easy to handle, was very effective. So add this to my sledgehammer test, and I can confidently say you shouldn't have any issues with this pommel or tang, even in hard use situations. The handle is made up of the knife tang and what appear to be two rugged polymer slabs that are secured to the knife using these 4 star or torque screws and 2 permanent metal sleeves that are inside the 2 lashing holes on the handguard. Now you know me, I'm curious, so I wanted to see if I could take the handle slabs off. But I quickly found out that this was a dead end since the bolts are a bit of a challenge to get out and the metal lashing hole inserts are permanent. Keep the handle slabs from being taken off, so it's best to just leave these handles alone. Now although the Ultimate Pro handle looks a little different in style and color than the original Ultimate Survival knife, it feels about the same and is very comfortable to hold and use. Most of these polymer handle slabs are covered over in what feels like the same rubberized gripping material that's used on just about every other knife and tool in the Bear Grylls line. The only other really noticeable difference is the weight of the knife, which doesn't feel heavy, but actually makes the knife feel a bit more substantial. This knife balances well with a center of gravity around the area of the 4-finger handle cutout. Okay, now since I like to throw knives, have found that a well-balanced knife can usually be thrown fairly well using a no-spin technique. So I decided to take this knife out and give it a few tosses. So here I am throwing the Bear Grylls Ultimate Pro knife a few times at my target. As you can see, it's been a long winter and I'm a bit rusty, but overall the knife was really easy to control and throw. Okay, now back to business. Now like the original Ultimate Survival knife, the Ultimate Pro handle flares out towards the pommel to help keep the knife in your hand during normal use and when chopping. So here I am chopping a decent sized hardwood tree with the Bear Grylls Ultimate Pro knife to show you that it can be done in an emergency. Now certainly take your camp axe and hatchet with you, but if you can't, or you find yourself in an emergency survival situation where this knife is your only tool, it's nice to know that it's capable of chopping a tree in a pinch. Okay, now in addition to the lanyard hole in the pommel, we have 2 additional holes in the handguard that go through the handle slabs and tang and are strategically placed to help you lash this knife to a pole to make a spear. This can be done with a length of nylon or paracord. Now the lashing holes of this knife also serve another important task as part of the friction lock system that holds this knife in the sheath when it's not in use. And like the previous version of this knife, we have the strap with a Velcro-like closure system to keep the handle tight against the sheath. The sheath is designed for left or right hand carry and has this hole in the bottom of the knife compartment to allow water to drain out just in case you go for a swim or end up in a storm with this knife. Upper part of the Ultimate Pro sheath is made of 2 thick pieces of ballistic nylon that are sewn together to form a pouch. It has an opening at the top to hold the Bear Grylls Priorities of Survival pocket guide. The pocket guide is easy to get to by pulling up on this orange ribbon, which is firmly sewn into the inside of the pouch. Now this is a much better solution than the previous plastic pouch that's on the back of the original Ultimate Survival knife sheath, which tended to make it hard to get the guide in and out, especially in cold or humid weather, and made it necessary to take the knife off your belt to access the guide. So I'm pretty happy about this upgrade. Okay, to carry this knife around, on the back of the ballistic nylon upper part of the sheath, you have this nylon vertical belt loop that works well with belts up to about 2 inches wide. Now, I did notice that there are no horizontal MOLLE compatible strap sections like we had on the back of the previous version of the sheath, so if you want to attach this sheath to some MOLLE webbing, you'll have to get creative. Next we have this carbide blade, pull-through sharpener, which is a better field sharpening solution because of its ease of use than the diamond stone sharpener that's on the original Ultimate Survival knife sheath. The sharpener is set up for you to hold the sheath upside down with your left hand and the knife with your right hand. To touch up your blade, simply hold the sheath using these rubberized side grips like this. Okay, now just lay the side of the knife blade against the back of the sheath covering these 3 orange lines, while you insert the knife into the sharpener like this. When you do it this way, which is stupid simple, the sheath is designed to perfectly align the edge of your knife with the carbide blades when you pull the blade straight through like this. Now there's no need to put much pressure down on the edge. You want to take off as little metal as possible to achieve a sharp blade. Now one last thing about this sharpener. Gerber added a really nice feature and made this pull sharpener so that lefties can remove these 2 small star head screws and reposition the carbide sharpening blades on the other side. So if you're a lefty, you'll be able to hold the knife in your left hand and the sheath in your right. Okay, now last but not least, on the front of this sheath, we have this ferro rod, which is positioned right side up instead of upside down like in the original version of the sheath. This change alone should about ensure that the ferro rod doesn't accidentally fall out of the sheath and get lost in the wilderness, which could happen in the previous version of the sheath. To further secure the rod in place, Gerber added this wedge that snaps the rod firmly in place, makes it about impossible to get it out unless you first pull up on the rod handle and then out like this. Now this ferro rod seems pretty high quality, so starting a fire with it should be really easy when you use dry tinder. Now here my friend Ahin is using fire steel for the very first time on some dry grass seed heads and birch bark that he collected for tinder. Okay, so what's the cost? Well, at the time of this review, Amazon's online street price is right around $70 US versus the original Bear Grylls Ultimate Survival Knife that runs just shy of around $40. So even with this price difference, the Ultimate Pro's upgrades and new features make it an attractive upgrade that should be considered. And if trends hold true, the price of this knife will likely come down over time. So we rate the new Gerber Bear Grylls Ultimate Pro Survival Knife at 4 out of 5 stars. Gerber really stepped up to the plate, took their best-selling knife, beefed it up, and improved it dramatically in just about every area by upgrading the steel, going with full tank construction, providing a better field sharpening solution, improving the storage of the pocket survival guide and the fire starter rod, and a bunch of other thoughtful design upgrades. We took off a full star in this great knife because to make all of these upgrades, the cost of the knife went from sub $40 US up to around $70 US. So this has forced the Bear Grylls Ultimate Pro up into a more competitive price and performance category, where it now has to contend with some heavy hitters in the survival, general purpose utility knife world, like the K-Bar Becker BK2, the Cold Steel SRK, the SOG SEAL Team Elite, and this knife's older brother, the Gerber LMF2, just to name a few. Honestly, in this competitive category for survival knives, a 4 out of 5 rating is pretty darn good. And if this knife's price point comes down over time, its rating only improves in our eyes. But if you compare this knife package to the original Bear Grylls Ultimate Survival Knife, there really is no comparison. The Ultimate Pro kicks its butt in every way. So if you like your current Bear Grylls Ultimate Survival Knife, you're going to love the new Ultimate Pro. So who's the Bear Grylls Ultimate Pro Survival Knife for? Well, with its steel upgrade, full tank construction, all the goodies that come with it, this knife is a great choice for those who are ready to upgrade from the original Bear Grylls Ultimate Survival Knife. It's also a nice choice for camping, backpacking, hiking, bug-out bags, emergency kits, responsible scouts, for bushcraft, or as a very nice general-purpose utility knife to have around the home or shop, or to have handy just in case. If $70 is a bit beyond your price range, check out my reviews of the original Bear Grylls Ultimate Survival Knife in fine or half serrated edge, or the Schrade Extreme Survival Knife. If you want more of a tactical combat survival knife and appreciate a partially serrated edge, check out my reviews of the SOG SEAL Team Elite, the Gerber LMF2, and the Gerber LHR. If you want a beastly blade for hunting, fishing, or bushcraft, check out the K-Bar Becker BK2, or my reviews of the Cold Steel SRK or SOG Creed. For those who think that bigger is better, check out the Smith & Wesson Homeland Security or the Buck Hoodlum. So we've just taken a look at the Gerber Bear Grylls Ultimate Pro Survival Knife. For your convenience, I've included links to all the gear that I've mentioned in the video description on YouTube. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And for more gear reviews, survival tips, and survival news, check out ultimatesurvivaltips.com. And while you're there, grab our monthly survival e-mag, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter to get the latest news and be the first to hear about the great gear giveaway contests we have planned. Okay, this is David. I hope to see you on the other side, and remember, be prepared because you never know.